Hello everyone, welcome back. Today I'll be going over radius, diameter, circumference, and pi. So these are all different concepts in relation to circles, and today I'm going to go over a sort of introduction of them, and in future videos I'll be sure to go into more depth and detail on the more specific content. So what are these words that I just said? So the first one was radius. We have diameter. We have, what do we have? We have pi. We have circumference. All right, so these are simple concepts that I will be going over today. So the first of which, it's radius, and another way of writing this is simply as r. So we're going to see it in these two forms. Now what the radius is when we draw a circle for ourselves, like this, the radius, and then before I draw the radius, here is the origin. So this is the center point of the circle. So the radius is from the center point of this circle, from the center point of the circle to any dot on the outside of the circle. So this is showing the radius. So I took a point here on the outside, on the actual circle, and then connected it to the center of the circle. And that distance, that measurement, is the radius. Okay, now you might ask, what is the diameter? So the diameter is, instead of stopping here at the origin, you would go straight through the circle and crossing right through the origin. So an example of that would be, an example of that would look like this. So you see how it touches both ends and it goes straight through the origin point. We call this the diameter, or another way of writing it is d. Now, you might have noticed that there's a correspondence between the d and the r. And what that is d is equal to 2 times the r. 2 r's. Because if we multiplied the r twice, if we redrew the r right here, that would make another distance. If it were from here all the way till here, it would be the same distance as d here. So 2r is equal to d. All right. So now that we sort of understand what radius is, what the diameter is, what's pi? So for the sake of this video and for the sake of this simple introduction, all we need to know about pi is that it's a number. So it's not a variable, it's not something that'll change. It is simply this number. And for the sake of simplicity, since the number has an infinite number of decimals, we'll just remember it as 3.14. That's all we need to know. And another way that you'll see it written is like this. So this is the symbol for pi. You got 2 dashes and then you have a line that goes on top. So that's pi. It's a Greek letter originally, and it's used in mathematics to denote this 3.14. Okay, now what is the circumference? The circumference is everything here that's yellow. The circle entirely, that distance, if that were a rope and you turned it into a circle, you kind of moved it around so it'd make a circle. If you got rid of the circle and you just flattened it out, so instead of having the circle here, I just flattened it out like this, what would be this distance here? This distance here would be the circumference. So here you have your rope. If you then decided to turn it into a circle, the distance around the circle would be equivalent to the distance of the rope. So here, the yellow circle here, that's the distance that we're trying to measure. or the length we're trying to measure. Okay, now what is the equation or formula for circumference? So for the circumference of a circle, it's going to be this equation. 2 pi r. Or you'll see it as pi d. Okay, now the reason why they're interchangeable is because 2 times r is equal to d, right? So they're both the exact same, but we can write them either way depending on what the question that we'll start doing, the questions we'll start doing, depending on whether they give us the diameter or if they give us the radius. We can choose to use either equation. Okay, now instead of just speaking on it, I want to do an example. So, okay, instead of deleting this, I'm going to move it to the side so that we can keep it in mind and keep it with us. Let's see here. Okay. Straighten it up a bit. Perfect. Okay, and then let's say, yeah, I'll make myself a new circle. Okay, so here we have a green circle, okay? And the question is saying that this circle here, here's the origin for it. This circle here, it has a radius. It has a radius of 6 centimeters. Okay, so we have a radius now. We have our 6 centimeters. That is all we need to find the circumference. And why is that? That's because the circumference is equal to 2 pi r. And pi is just a number, right? So here, all we have to do is sub it in. What's the equation? The equation is 2 pi r. And since we know that r is equal to 6 centimeters, we simply write it as c, which is the circumference, is equal to 2 times pi, which is 3.14. Oops. 3.14 times, I'm kind of getting off board here, times 6 centimeters. So if we rewrite this here, we'll do 2 times 3.14. So I take out my trusty calculator, 3.14 times 2. That gives me 6.28. Now I multiply it by the radius. And that gives me times 6, and I get 37.68, and then I maintain the same unit of centimeters. So here, knowing only the radius, we were able to find the circumference. Okay, let me do another example with you. All right. Just move this over here. Okay. So let's say we have another circle. Let's say we have this, this one's a smaller circle. And we have our little origin here. And the question tells you, hey, this circle, it has a radius of 2 millimeters. What is the circumference? So all you have to do is, again, c is equal to 2 pi r. And since r is equal to 2 millimeters, you can sub it in. So we get 2 times pi times 2 millimeters. Since we know that pi is equal to 3.14, we simply multiply 3.14 times 2, and that gives us 6.28, like the last question. Then we multiply by 2 again for the 2 millimeters, and we get 12.56 millimeters. So we maintain the same unit here. 12.56 millimeters, that is our circumference. Therefore, the circumference is equal to 12.56 millimeters. All right, now what if the question, instead of giving you the radius, gives you the diameter? I'll show you right now how easy it is to identify this. It's really, really, really easy. So here we have, so here we have our diameter. This is the origin point, and we have the diameter is given as 70 meters. So this is actually a very large circle. 70 meters is the diameter. So I just simply write d is equal to 70 meters. And they're asking for the circumference, right? Okay, then all we have to do is once again write the formula. C is equal to 2 pi r. But wait a minute, we don't have r. We were given d. So here we have a choice. We can either find r or we can use this equation. So for this one, I want to actually use this equation instead, this one right here. So it'll be c is equal to pi times d. Okay, so we know that pi is 3.14 and d is 70 meters. All we do is find the product. So we do 3.14 times 70. All right, and I get 219.8, and I maintain the unit of meters. It's as simple as that. Now we found the circumference. Okay, in the next video, I want to go over the area of a circle and go into more depth as to the specific language that I use, like radius, diameter, pi, and circumference, and I want to go into more detail on each concept. But for now, I'll see you next time.